The disappearance of Nancy Guthrie as the search for her enters week 3. Since Savannah Guthrie's mother was abducted from her home in the early morning hours of February 1st, hundreds of federal and local agents have been scouring the Arizona desert, chasing down potential leads. So let's go ahead and bring in ABC News contributor and former FBI Special Agent Brad Garrett to talk about all of this. Brad, it is good to see you, but it's unbelievable that we are now entering week 3. So if you were to assess this investigation right now, 2 weeks in, what would you say? How would you say it's going?
Well, I can tell you, Gio, working a number of high-profile cases, is that you get dealt basically a hand of evidence, of witnesses, of cameras, of phones, and you do everything you can 24/7. But if it doesn't go together, it doesn't go together. And I don't think it's from the sake of not trying. I mean, they've used FBI special teams. They've brought in tech teams. I'm sure they pulled down all the cell phones. They pulled down all the CCTV. They're listening to informants, if that would help at all in this case. And they're getting multiple thousands, I'm sure way over 20,000 leads, of which most won't be helpful, but maybe a handful will. So that's why 3 weeks later, we're having this conversation.
And Brad, we know they are combing through everything, following every tip, but what are the best leads we know of at this point?
Well, I'm not sure we know of the best leads, Mary. I mean, I'll give you an example that quickly. The car stop, detained, searched the car, then the house searched, same time period, a day or two ago. That's a typical tip you get. Somebody calls in and said, a guy that drives an XYZ car with this plate number looks exactly like the guy in the picture, so forth and so on. So you follow through. Well, not much else you can do. But it's those type of tips, Mary, that will get this case solved. That somebody eventually will come out and say, that's my neighbor, I work with that guy, whatever it might be. And they're just not there yet. It also maybe give you some indicators that, assuming the guy at the door, there is a video of, is a lone player. If he's a lone player and a loner, it maybe make it more difficult as far as getting certain tips or cell phones or whatever it might be.
Brad, investigators say that some DNA collected from Nancy Guthrie's property belongs to someone other than her. What could that mean? Well,
it can mean something really great, like it's the DNA of maybe the guy that was at her front door. But, Gio, think about the number of people that have been in your residence, and we do a deep search of your residence and pull up all sorts of DNA. You may have had a plumber there 8 years ago who left his DNA. It would be important for me to know, where did they find the unknown person's DNA, and is it a logical place that this bad guy, I'm going to assume it's one person at this point at least, it could be his DNA. Of course, that doesn't help you unless his DNA is in a database someplace.
Yeah, of course. And let's go back to that horrifying video that we've now all seen, that masked figure that was caught on the doorbell camera. What do you take away from that footage when you look at it?
I find that footage just bizarre. He gives me a lot of information about sort of his demeanor, his slowness, his not sure what he's doing, the unbelievable amount of time, Mary, he spent at that front door. I mean, the average person would have gotten caught, called in on by the police, whatever it might be. So, and then going and pulling that branch up or vegetation of some sort and wagging it in front of the camera. So disorganized, slow. He gives you a lot of information about how he walks. The FBI have been able to come up with height and weight. I don't think there's not enough of his face to do any sort of, to see if it matches anybody else's. But if you knew him based on how he's dressed, how he walks, how he moves, I think you'd be able to ID him and say, that's the guy down the street, or my neighbor, or whatever it might be. So I guess the baffling part is, if in fact he did this alone, and if in fact he's a loner, he's been pretty good at shutting us down for 3 weeks. And, you know, the tragedy, obviously, is Nancy's poor health. And where is she and what state is she in?
Yeah, and we, again, are praying for Nancy's family in Savannah. And, of course, we have that tip line right there on your screen. If you have any information, please go ahead and call. Brad, Garrett, thank you so much.